Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? 3 p.m. UK time. It is a rainy, miserable day here in Cheshire, but hopefully we will get through some good t-shirt designs all the same and get you lots of value from today's session. I don't know what I'm saying. I really should have planned an intro out there a bit better. Who've we got here today? Kathleen Schroeder. Eliphas. Kathleen had a question about the times. It's always 3 p.m. UK time. I can't vouch for the changing of the time zones wherever you are, but 3 p.m. UK time is when we go live. Ray is here. Grey Elephant Club is here. Raymond is here. Lance, good morning to you. Kathleen NYC. 8D Sleep Sound says hello. And in NYC as well, Code Whisperer is here. Marivi is here. And Eddie and Kevin. Great. Awesome. So, design review session today. This is, I think we have the most designs to review that we have ever had to review today. We have about 30 to get through. 33 actually at last count, 33 individual designs. So I'm going to go through it a little bit differently today. I'll explain that in a second. Nabil is here. Melinda is here from Southern California. Now that sounds good. Ilka says hi. David is here. One Man Show from Switzerland. 8D says, anybody making more than 600 a month on Redbubble? Yes, I am. Lisa says, hey. Lee says, hello. Sumia Basu says hi. Good to have you all here today. I hope it's better weather wherever you are. It's very rainy here today where I am, but that's typical of this part of the world. Gary says hello. Angie is here. She says, thanks for sending out my copy of your book. It arrived today. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Angie. I hope you get a lot out of it and you enjoy the book. So we got a design review session here today, but before we get into the actual designs, let's rock through a couple of housekeeping bits. If you could give a thumbs up wherever you're watching, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. It would be great to bump those numbers up. So if you can do that, that'd be great. Today's plan, a design review session with over 30 individual designs to review. Can you believe it? Can it be done? Will it be a new world record? How many designs can be reviewed in an hour's time? Let's find out. And as usual, you can ask questions as we go through. I will stop intermittently and take your questions about anything. Can be about these designs, can be about prints on demand. And you probably want to keep it to those subjects. Yes, so last night sent out an email to my list. This is how you get your design reviewed if you're watching and you don't know how. I send out an email to my newsletter. If you're not on my email newsletter list, you won't get that email. Therefore, you can't reply to that email, and therefore I can't review your shirt. It is only people who reply to that email that get reviewed. So if you send an email any other time, or you just randomly send me an email, I will not review your shirt. I only do this in this little tight window because that's the easiest way for me to manage it. So if you're not on my list, go to michaelessick.com/live to sign up. There's some free goodies there as well. I'd send out weekly tips to help you sell more shirts, and it will allow you to get your design reviewed, like the lucky people here today. All right, so that's the plan for today. Oh yeah, I did want to say that I read all emails. So when you send an email, when you send a reply, like a lot of you did yesterday, I don't know what happened yesterday, whether there was something in the water. I must have used an email subject line that really went down a treat because we got more replies than ever before. But I do read all the emails there. So there was a few people I noticed, they didn't send a design, but they had a question or something. I'm not going to be able to answer those today because that's not the deal, but I do read them all. So if you do want to, ever write me an email about anything, I'll definitely read them. I just cannot necessarily reply to everyone's emails all the time. Okay, who is this for today? Just in case you didn't really know, maybe you're new to this today and this is all new to you, not really sure what the whole deal is. So I'm Michael Essick. I sell t-shirt designs online, have done for about 5 or 6 years now, full-time. So I quit my graphic design job to pursue this full-time. I've been making a decent living from it for the past 5 or 6 years. And really who this kind of advice is for, this kind of review session, it's for print-on-demand designers. That's one main group of people that this is really going to help. If you run an Etsy store, so maybe you sell prints on demand through an Etsy store or something like that, or you sell via Shopify, or you have your own merch or something like that, then the kind of tips and the things I share, they should help you to create better designs, really understand and get a solid grasp of the concept behind a design and how to turn that into a good design, and various tips along the way. So that's who it's really for. Designers who are in those kind of spaces, or if you're into art licensing or something like that. The people who it's not so useful for, if you're just a kind of general artist or a hobby artist, obviously that's great, or a photographer or something like that, and you're not doing this commercially, the advice and kind of the focus of these sessions is to try and help people create designs that sell. So it's the commercial aspect that I'm trying to really help people with. So if you're just doing art for a hobby or for fun or whatever, I'm not reviewing people's art here. This is not my opinion on, whether your artwork is nice or not. It's really more of is this design likely to sell, or is there things we can say about this design and some tips that will help you sell more of it or do more designs that are going to sell more. So I just say that, and I'll show some designs in a second here, which have come from people who I would say there's more of that general artist thing going on. So maybe you're just an artist, you just want to put your designs up for sale on Redbubble, which is fine, of course. But maybe you're not really looking to make sales from it or whatever. In which case, I don't want to review people's art. I don't want to give my personal opinion on your art. That's not what the point is here. I'm trying to help people who are designing things with a view to making sales from them commercially, and hopefully making significant, consistent, steady sales so you can build a solid business from your art. So that's the real deal here. So I hope that makes sense. Let me take a few comments here and see who else we have. Peter from South Africa is here today. Richie from Long Island, New York. Kelly from Las Vegas. Renato from Chicago. Windy, chilly, and wet. Sounds familiar, Renato. Thaddeus says, hey. Bo says, hi. Amy from Texas is here. Laurie says, aloha. I guess that's a clue as to where she's from. Schroeder is here. Hello to you. And Holloway says, good day, everyone. Ryan Brewer, first time catching the live. Cool. Nice to have you, Ryan. AAAW, any new expectations for new things coming to merch by Amazon? Not that I don't have any inside knowledge. I do think Amazon are working around the clock probably to bring new things to market and stuff, whether that's new products or new features and stuff. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see new products rolling out maybe towards the start of next year. I doubt they'll launch stuff in Q4 because it's just a crazy time. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see new things. We saw phone cases this year. We'll probably see other things that are easy to do, print on demand, whether that's like posters or other apparel or things like that. So yeah. 8D says, I got my 10th sale on Amazon yesterday and they still didn't tear me up yet. Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath for immediate tear-ups at the moment. 8D, it can take a while for those to come through. Revive says, hi. Dan from Texas is here. Facebook user, aloha. And Andy from Charlotte and Choppy from Arizona. Awesome. Okay, so let's crack on with these slides. I got a couple of things I just wanted to highlight today. And Ken Reel is here in the house. The master, the great Ken Reel is here too. Why we do this today? Why am I doing these design review sessions? So I just thought this would be helpful as well to just kind of highlight. Number one, to stop you wasting time. So this is a real problem. And if I can help anyone with this, I'd feel really good about, what we're doing, why we do these sessions, which is a lot of people are creating designs and they are wasting their time. They're effectively putting out designs that are unlikely to ever sell, which is a waste of your time. It's frustrating. It's just a waste of time. Why would you want to do that? So in order to help people and make it so you're not wasting your time, that's why I want to kind of do these sessions and help you understand, why this design won't sell, why it's unlikely to sell, and what you can do instead. So yeah, to help you learn what sells and what makes a design sell. So every design that sells has a reason behind it. This isn't magic. It isn't just chance that people buy things on the internet. There are reasons, there are motivations, there are real clear things that you can get your teeth into and understand. And once you do, it makes sales much more likely. So that's why we do it as well. And also to help you choose better concepts and get better at design. So it's not just about the design side. Of course, that's important. And it's not just about the concept side. It's about marrying those two together. And once you get better at, some people are really good at concept. Some people are really good at design. You've really got to grasp those two together to really have like consistent success through your designs and stuff. So, in fact, let me just jump ahead to jump ahead to this one. As an illustration of that, this was something that I think used to be on shirtoid.com, which is a website that kind of posts all the latest designs from Shirtoday sites and stuff like that. But this used to be on they used to have a submissions page where you could submit designs to Shirtoid, and this used to be there, and it said, it was like, before you send us a shirt to list on our site, here's how we decide what to list. And it said good concept or good idea, good design, and shirts that we list. And I thought that was a great illustration. So I've stolen it because I would have used theirs, but I can't find it. So I've created this one. Yeah, good concept plus good design is a shirt that sells. Some people, very good designers, very good illustrators, maybe very good at the artwork or something like that, but not very good at understanding what kind of concepts, what kind of ideas they need to realize in order to create something that sells. Other people can be very good at ideas. They can come up with funny jokes, funny slogans, or other kind of good concepts, but their design needs work, which both of these things are skills and they're both fixable. And that's what we want to help you with today. And just if you haven't joined us before, the 3 big questions, just to remind us, a good kind of thing to do before you ever design anything is to ask these questions. And if you don't get decent answers to any of them, that's a warning sign. So number 1, who is going to wear this design? Who is your target market? Who's your target person? Who is going to wear it? If you don't know, if you can't answer that, or if you give a very generic answer, which we'll see some examples of in a second, that's a problem. You want to have a fairly tight, fairly specific answer. The more specific, usually the better. Why would they want to wear it? That's important. That's the motivation. What, you've identified someone, you've identified, oh, I'm targeting people who like fishing. Okay, but why would they want to wear your shirt? And why would they want to wear your shirt instead of 1,000 other different fishing t-shirts or whatever? So that's a big question to answer. And how are they going to find it? That's more about distribution. If you've got distribution locked down, if you've got your own mailing list, if you've got your 100,000 Instagram followers or something, then having people find stuff is a lot easier because you don't have to really get them to find. You can just show it to them and then they're going to buy it. But if you're on print on demand, then how they're going to find it is more important because it's more about competition. If you create a generic Halloween shirt, it's going to get lost in a sea of other Halloween shirts. But if you create something more specific, you have a much higher chance of that actually making sales. Okay, those are the 3 big questions. There's some good concepts. Let's get into the designs today. So Joseph says greetings and salutations. Neil says hi. Farcine says hi, everyone. Glad to catch this one early. Cool. Good to have you here, Farcine and Julie and Manash. Great. Okay, so we have 33 designs, I think, to review today. Like I said, I don't know what happened. Everyone, for some reason last night, opened that email, replied to it, sent a design in. So we have a lot to get through. Because we have so many, I thought it's going to be impossible for me to take them individually. So what I've done is I've grouped them into groups, and I'm going to kind of do a more broad covering of them and hopefully won't get too waylaid with any individual design. So I hope this is going to be helpful. What I've grouped them into is kind of the ones that need the most attention and the ones all the way through to the ones that need the least attention. So the last ones we're going to look at are the ones that are I would say the strongest designs, the ones where we've got a good concept and a good design, and I just have a few tweaks and things to kind of say about it. The first ones we're going to look at are the ones that I really struggled with. And so I'm not going to be giving people's names and stuff because I don't know who, which name was what, but hopefully you'll see your designs here. Hopefully, maybe it'll be a good thing. You won't hear your name and you won't be too upset or offended by what I have to say, but that's kind of the approach. So should we do that today? Let's get into it. Manash said hi. Adinol is here. Hi to you. And Yo from the Mitten. I'm not sure who the Mitten is, but I can't see your name, but Yo, Mitten. Thaddeus says, hi, Sensei Ken. Okay, let's get into it. So these are the designs which I feel I cannot really offer much help on. So let me shrink myself down a little bit. Again, apologies if I don't know your name, who was behind which design and stuff, but I would class almost all of these designs as being really failing on certainly questions 1 and 2 and probably number 3. Basically, yeah, basically a wipeout on most of them. So I'll just kind of scan through and give a couple of thoughts. Like this design here, someone sent in. It's like a screenshot from a phone. You know, this is not a t-shirt design. This is some photography that's been edited and stuff. It's not a design for a t-shirt. I don't, you know, I can't find any commercial application for it. There's no concept, so you know I can't say anything about it. Similarly here, we've got some eyes, and it says "I'm here." You know, unless I'm missing something, there's no hook, there's no concept, there's nothing that I can really add to this. You know, when it comes to these reviews, what I look for, or what I think I can offer the most help with, are designs where there is an attempt has been made at a design, an idea, a concept, and I feel I can give you a nudge in the right direction, or say, hey, you know, there's a big wide open goal here. If you just change these things, or if you thought about it from this angle? Whereas these designs, I have no idea what you're trying to achieve, you know, how you're really hoping to get there. They are, you know, essentially like blank slates as far as I can, you know, review them. So again, this is not about the design. This is not about your artistic ability or anything like that. This is about, you know, the concept and that kind of thing. So yeah, this one, again, just don't know where to begin. This one, unfortunately, is written in a foreign language. Maybe there's a joke there that I'm supposed to understand, but I don't get. But again, it's, you know, something I can't really comment on. This one is like 3D blocks, and I think this is a case of, like, you know, Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park, when he says, just because you can doesn't mean you should. This is a case of that. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, but maybe this is like someone, this is what I think. Someone's found some software and they've been able to create like 3D images, and then they've whacked it on Redbubble. And just because you can do that doesn't mean you should. Because again, who's going to want to wear it and why? I can't provide an answer to those questions. Of course, you could try to like answer those questions. The point is, you should have answered those questions before you begun, if that makes sense, rather than trying to answer it after you've created something. This one here, someone sent over. They did give some kind of explanation for it, but again, this is not a t-shirt design. You know, it's a attempt at a logo, I would say, or something like that. Again, there's very little that I can critique on something like that. This one here is someone's taken some leaves, I think, and spray painted and made a shirt. It's very nice. There's not really a commercial print-on-demand application to it. So again, it's not within my scope of things I can talk about, if that makes sense. Down here, we've got a few here where I would say what someone's done is taken some clip art and attempted to make a design around it. So I'm not presuming there. They actually said, you know, these are some clip art things that I got. So here I would say an attempt was made and it was not successful. There is no solid concept behind these. This is essentially like pairing a random phrase with a graphic, almost. There's been some attempts maybe with the pug one to do something because he's a bit of a gangster pug. But again, there's no hook. There's very little that we can actually get our teeth into and understand, and I don't know who it's for. And I think if you were to tell me who it's for, you might give me very generic answers like, "Oh, people who like to break the rules." That's not a target market that you can go after. We need more than that. And similarly with these ones here, these are kind of like half photography designs. Personally, I don't think these are very strong visually or graphically. I'm not clear on, again, who we're targeting and why. There is no clear hook or concept behind them. And similarly here we have a word which is, I think, a Scottish language word or something, or a kind of slang term that's been illustrated, which is fine. But again, you've taken a word and you've illustrated it. There is no hook. There's no concept. and there's very little for me to really advise on. So that's this batch of designs. We're going to take it up a notch in the next batch and take a look at some that are the beginnings of concepts that we can actually start to talk about. South London Reseller says, I teach animation and design. Your feedback is honest. I'm trying to not pull too many punches, but I don't want to offend anyone. Kathleen says, I'm here maternity shirt. Okay, so maybe an attempt there with the I'm here one to, because it's maybe so low down the shirt that it's an attempt at a maternity shirt. I think, Kathleen, you're being generous, and I don't think that's the intention behind the design. But again, that's an example of where you can retroactively kind of apply meanings to these things and attempt to put them in boxes. That's fine, but obviously these are going to need work to get anywhere. Farcine says, actually the eyes design can be salvaged but needs a major remodel. Marine hat, aye captain. Okay, so Farcine sees some potential to do a bit of a pun with two eyes, aye captain or something like that. So good. Okay. All right, that's our first batch. Ken says you're nicer than me. That's not hard, Ken. No, I'm joking. Ken's very nice. But I'm trying to be even nicer and not offend anyone. Okay, here's our next batch of designs. So these are ones where I think at least we have attempts made to perhaps just scratch at the edge of a market, like someone's kind of just about realize that there is a market they're going after, but the execution really leaves a lot to be desired on these. So first up, we've got this UFO design. It is, as far as I can tell, unless I'm missing something, and I don't think I am, it is I think we can say generic picture of a UFO and some trees. And I think the person who sent it said, this is targeted at people who are into UFOs. That's fine, but this is an example where just because you put a picture of a thing on a shirt or you make it available for sale doesn't mean that that's going to appeal to that market. I like Telecasters, but I don't want to buy a picture of a Telecaster on a t-shirt, just a flat picture of a Telecaster, or even a clip art picture of a Telecaster. So what you've got to do is think about what really connects with people, and it isn't just a picture of a thing. You have to go at least a few steps better than that. And as a simple example, what you could do, a very simple thing you could do is just go and Google or do a search on Amazon or Redbubble, just put in UFO shirt, UFO t-shirt, and see what comes up. And I guarantee you'll find lots of jokes, you'll find lots of slogans, you'll find lots of certain concepts and frameworks, and you won't find a lot of simple flat graphic with very little context and very little meaning behind it. So similarly with this design, I think this is some kind of flag maybe. And again, what can I say about this? You've sent me a flag. Like if someone sent an American flag on a t-shirt and said, what do you think of this design? It's not a design, it's the American flag on a t-shirt. Like, yes, though millions of those will sell every year, but what do you want me to say about it? I just don't really have anything to really add about it. I don't know what the exact specifics of this flag are. Maybe it's a particular state or something like that. If that's the case, then fine. I'm sure people may search for that and find it, but there's not a lot I can really add to that as a concept. This one here is in French, and I believe it says, here's to women. And it's 2 wine glasses, I think, and a strawberry. And yeah, so I think here we've got an attempt made to identify a market, the females. The problem is the female market, the females, women, is a very broad market. I think you'll agree. 50% of the global population. And I don't think there's much insight here into that market. If you were to say, is this really going to appeal to females and to women who drink wine? Okay, women who drink wine probably would better respond to a design that had some kind of wine joke around it, some kind of wine pun or something like that. Simply saying here's to women and with some wine glasses, this is a weak concept, I think. But at least we've got a kind of an attempt at a market, but we don't have a very good execution on it. Let's skip down to this one, this trick or treat one. Again, like, okay, it's obviously a Halloween design, but that's being generous. This is a few bits of clip art with some text underneath. It's not pleasing on the eye. It's not something you would like to wear. It's not something that people are going to jump at the chance to own and buy. So yeah, yes, you've correctly identified that people buy Halloween t-shirts. You've not understood why they buy them. You've not understood what makes them interested in that, I think. So no ozone, no life. Again, here we have a slogan, I guess you could say, or we have some kind of message, which is fine. That's something. I don't think we have a design that's in any way attractive or would really move someone. It's not a very emotive message. It's not something that's got a joke or a hook. And I think it's just a weak concept, and we'd need to go back to the drawing board. Now, what you could say is, okay, well, this is trying to target whatever people who are motivated by climate change or something like that. In which case, you would want to go back and say, okay, well, let's do something that targets people who are really into climate change. What are they interested in? What do they already respond well to? What kind of slogans and sayings are they interested in? How can we do a joke or a hook about something like that? And this is a little bit generic for my tastes. Not just for my taste, but from my objective judgment of whether it's ever going to sell any. Here we've got a Rubik's Cube surrounded by some spheres. And again, I really struggle to understand what the concept or the joke is, or who we're going after. I guess you could say people who are into Rubik's Cubes. But are people who are into Rubik's Cubes really going to respond to this design? To me, it's just like someone who knows how to use Photoshop and has realized how to change colors and line things up. It's not someone who's made any attempt to really produce something new and original that's going to get someone's attention and get them to want to buy something from you. So yeah, struggling with that one as well. And then here we've got, I'll read this one out. It says, my stomach's vegetables section is full, but there's always room in the dessert section. So this is, I think, an example of where we've got the germ of an idea, the concept is there, where we could have something that's decent, but the execution really lets it down. And I think if we go into the subtext here, the joke is that, this is something kids say or adults. I say this pretty often. There is no more room for vegetables, but I definitely have more room for dessert. I don't want to eat any more of those carrots, but I definitely want to eat more chocolate cake. So that's the subtext, if you like. How you've expressed it is in a very wordy way and in a very visually unattractive, aesthetically displeasing way. And I think if you could really get it down to the core joke, a design like that or an idea like this would be much improved if you could pair it with like a cute character of some kind, like a cute animal, like a fat little bear, or I don't know, some kind of fat animal. Could be a sloth or whatever's trendy at the moment. There seems to be a trend of those kind of designs. Trying to think, like they sell quite well on some of the shirt a day sites like QWERTY and Sea Fury. You basically have a cute animal of some kind, like a panda or a bear or a sloth, and then you just have text that says, "Oh no, Monday again," or "Life is horrible," or I don't know, something like that. Or I just want to eat and watch Netflix. They're very simple. They don't really have a great hook behind them, but they seem to be quite popular. People seem to identify with, "Oh yeah, there's a cute animal. That's how I feel." And I think this design is in that direction. Like if you could pair it with a nice illustration of a teddy bear who's just eaten food and has a chocolate cake or something, it could work along those lines. But as it is, this is far too, this is visually displeasing. There's far too many fonts. It's just white on black. It's not attractive to look at. I don't think people are going to, want to wear it as it looks like that now. Okay. That was our second batch. So we are getting closer to identifying a market. We're getting closer to giving them a design they like. Armin says, greetings from Leipzig. Thaddeus says it's one from a series of 50 shirts. I don't know which you're referring to, Thaddeus. Sorry. Maybe the flag one? Was it that one? In which case, again, well, I mean, the what I said still kind of stands. You do 50 flag shirts, that's fine. There's still 50 flag shirts. Eddie says, Michael, can you suggest a good drawing course that's relevant to drawing art on a shirt? The only one that springs to mind is one by I think it's Chris DiLorenzo, who was for a while the lead illustrator for Johnny Cupcakes. I think he has a class on Skillshare. I don't know whether someone could look that up and maybe share the link in the comments, but it's not a very detailed class. It's just kind of his concept and how he works on a shirt. It's maybe a bit advanced if you're not an illustrator or a drawer by profession, or you're not someone with a bit of skill in that area. But he uses Illustrator. He shows you how he sketches a concept, how he brings it to life in Adobe Illustrator, how he vectorizes it, and how he kind of thinks about putting it all together. So that's probably the only thing that immediately springs to mind. I don't know whether anyone else has a good suggestion for a good drawing course or something. Please feel free to share that in the comments and help Eddie out. I think I will be working on some more resources on the design side myself soon, whether that's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of checklist, or maybe a little video or a video course or something. But yeah, that Chris DiLorenzo one I think is pretty good. Farsane, my take is to sell a concept. It needs to connect with shoppers at least level 2 to level 1. Like it, level 2, like it enough to want to share it. Level 3, it represents their personalities, values, morals, and they think this is totally me. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary, Farsane. I would also say, though, you've identified one of the prime motivations why people buy something. This is really me. I want to identify myself with this topic or subject or whatever it is, or the voice behind it, those kind of things. People also buy shirts because they are impulse purchases. They don't necessarily have to go through a massive list of, I like this about it. It checks all these boxes. Sometimes people just really like, they buy them on impulse. It might be a joke. It might be a viral story or something. And one thing, people over-engineer T-shirts sometimes. They overthink it, because a T-shirt is usually $25 or around that price point. It is not something that people have to think that deeply about before they purchase. And usually, if we're talking print on demand and organic, remember that the person is searching for something. So they've gone out looking for whatever it is: American flag T-shirt, UFO T-shirt, funny Halloween T-shirt. So you're not having to grab them when they're walking down the street and say, hey, do you like this shirt? They've gone out looking for it. They're scrolling through a results page and scanning through lots of designs. And your job is to give them what they're looking for, provide what they are looking to find and buy. So when you think about it that way, your job is not that difficult. It's more about finding, the right kind of markets to go after, not going into too competitive spaces and that kind of thing. Alpha, how can I submit to you for next T-shirt review? Alpha, if you go up to michaelessick.com/live and sign up to join my email list, then the day before I do one of these reviews, I send out an email. You have to reply to that email. You have to reply to it then, within the 24 hours or whatever it is before the session starts. That's the only way to get a design reviewed, unless you want to contact me and do a private consultation and stuff, which I offer as well. Okay, Melinda, Let's Draw with BJ Dell on YouTube is a great resource for learning to draw. Yes, BJ is a very good artist. I think he uses Procreate and stuff on the iPad, so he's someone to follow. He does have a cartoony style, which is very much his. But again, that's a good place to start if you don't have perhaps an illustration or a drawing background. It would certainly be a good place to learn how to do to use Procreate to do drawing and stuff like that. So yeah. Angie, where did you learn your marketing wizardry? I don't know what you mean, Angie. If you can be more specific as to what my marketing wizardry is, because I wasn't aware I had any in particular. Yeah, if you can expand on that question, I will be happy to answer it, but without a bit more clarification, I'm afraid I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Whether you're talking about shirts or you're talking about like my books and things like that. Not really sure. Okay, let's go on to the next one, and I'll answer questions as we go. Here we have some designs which have made a stronger effort. I think they've done better than the previous ones. We're kind of going up a level each time. And oh, hold on a second. Angie has clarified her question. Angie says, being found organically. Okay, yes. So to answer your question, where did I learn my marketing wizardry as far as it relates to being found organically on these platforms and stuff? I did have a background. I worked for an SEO agency for a while here in Manchester. So I did have a bit of a grounding in search engine optimization, which of course is very helpful when you're talking about people organically searching for products and finding them online. You know, once you understand the principles there, like keywords and tags and all the things that contribute to rankings, then that applies whether you're selling on Amazon or Redbubble or any of these platforms. So that did help. We did do a video. If you go on my YouTube channel, there's a video from a few months ago specifically about keywords and things like that. And I think that would be a good primer if you haven't watched it already. That will kind of give you almost everything I know really about writing good tags, writing good titles, helping your designs get found organically, and stuff like that. So I would go and check that out if you haven't already. Thaddeus has found that class. It's called Hey Cool Shirts, Designing Effective T-Shirt Graphics on Skillshare. So yeah, go and check that out. Okay, let's go through some of these designs that we have here. So here we have some designs which are, you know, there is a concept, but it's not been executed very well in most of these cases. This one, the ballerina. So this is a case of, I guess, you know, a ballerina dancing on the moon is a nice idea. I think it's likely to appeal to people who are, you know, young girls into ballet or whatever, or older girls into ballet or men into ballet. People who are into ballet would probably respond well to this concept. However, the design is very basic and fundamental and not attractive. And I just think that, for example, if you could hand draw a design like this, maybe with a more kind of just white on black pencil sketchy type effect, I think it would make a nice aesthetic design. You know, you don't need any text. It would just be something that people might respond well to. For example, I'm thinking about, like, I don't know, moon eclipse shirts, or, you know, people buy like shirts about astrology and stuff like that. I just think that kind of style where it was kind of hand sketched, kind of a vintage illustration type look, I just think that would make it much more appealing. And the way it looks here is far too basic and amateurish. And if you were able to take it up a notch and really think about illustrating it more pleasantly, then I think it would do a lot better. The F-bomb design. So I think this is a concept that's probably been done plenty of times, but I think, you know, is the concepts, like, there's definitely a hook here behind this design, of course. The hook being, you know, F-bomb. It's kind of a double meaning on that meaning, and it's illustrated as a bomb. I think my problem with this one is, yes, there's a joke, yes, there's a hook. What I'm not really understanding is why someone wants to wear it and why someone wants to buy it, if that makes sense. So, you know, okay, yes, it is a joke. Is it necessarily a joke that people really identify with and they want to buy? And the real question is, who is that person? Who's the person who's going to go, oh, I really like that F-bomb shirt, I want to wear it? I'm not sure who they are. Maybe, you know, maybe they do exist. Maybe people go looking for the F-bomb shirt. But I think the market side of this one lets it down a little bit, if I'm honest. Execution wise, it's okay. I think it's still pretty amateurish in the design and stuff. That, you know, it's obviously kind of a collection of clip art and things. It's not been drawn in one sitting, which is something I always like to recommend. I think it's much better if you have a design that's been done holistically and everything's been done together and it's been hand drawn. So yeah, that's the F-bomb one. Okay, this one, Rolling Hot. We have a roller skates with flames. We've gone for the vintage sunset background, and it says Rolling Hot. So again, like, there's very little like wrong really with this design in some senses. Like, we've got a market, which would be people who like roller skating. It uses a very simple phrase. The graphic matches the idea, and it's probably likely to appeal to roller skaters because they kind of like the vintage vibe anyway. So there's not a lot really that's that wrong with it. I think design wise, I'm not sure the flames at the bottom really look so much like flames. I'm not really sure what's going on with the text. There seems to be some little bits of red hiding there. I think the roller skate is a bit small, and I would make it much bigger to make it more of a feature. I would even consider doing things like, you've just got the text here just kind of flat. I would think about putting that on an angle or even on a wavy path or something like that. I think there's design improvements we can make. I don't think it's a design that's going to set the world on fire. And sometimes with designs like this, it's a short, simple phrase. People do buy those and they like those on shirts. But, I can't help but think that for roller skaters, there are probably some stronger jokes to be made. There are some stronger hooks. There are some jokes there are some puns you could make. There's lots of puns you can do with roll, like rolling this, rolling that. This is how I roll. Da 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 da. There's loads of those kind of things. So I would be tempted to say, okay, fine, but do more, go deeper. Let's get more specific and do something that's really a bit more engaging than that design, if that makes sense. Similar thoughts with this turtle, which is a nice illustration, and you can see as it, on a shirt, it actually looks pretty pleasant. You can imagine something like this selling, and certainly someone who's into turtles liking the simplicity of a design like that. The thing is, that leaves you with a pretty small hook. It's basically, do they like the graphic or not? And some people maybe will, but other people will not like it. Other people who are looking for a turtle shirt will be looking for, a joke about a turtle or some kind of, cute character turtle, something like that. And yeah, I'm not sure this quite, fulfills that need. But again, not actually too much wrong with it. It wouldn't fall into my definition of a t-shirt design. It's more like an illustration of a turtle that's been placed on a t-shirt. But that isn't to say that people won't buy it or something like it. Those kind of things can sell. A couple of questions I think have come in. Oh no, wait, just a few comments. Angie gave a thumbs up. Eddie gave a thanks, Thaddeus. Drew says he made it. Let's get this started. Okay, Drew, you're a little bit late, but that's okay. I'll forgive you. And Thaddeus gives a thumbs up. Okay. How are we doing for time? We got 15 minutes. I think we might just do this. Homemade Asian design down here, and we have a little dumpling, I think. This is a nice enough design. We have a character here, which is good. It's probably like one of the first times I think in any of these designs that we've had. Okay, well, this guy used some characters, but they were clip art things. Yeah, the first time we've seen like an illustrated character. There isn't a strong, concept here. I think it's kind of like, do you identify with the phrase homemade Asian? Is that something that kind of grabs you or not? Obviously, it's targeting the Asian market. Yeah, not really sure kind of what more advice I could give on something like that, apart from if you're targeting the Asian market. I seem to be saying the same kind of thing over and over again, but if you're targeting a market, T-shirts, they lend themselves to jokes and slogans and phrases and things like that. And okay, yeah, people might respond to this. I hope they do. But it's not that strong a concept in the first place, if that makes sense. At least I don't think it is. But it looks okay. There's not massive graphical errors or anything like that. It's obviously very simple. So yeah, hopefully it works for you. Colorado, enter a higher state. So I have gathered that this is a reference to a certain now legal substance in Colorado. So here's a good example of where there's a decent concept, because we've got this play on words, enter a higher state. What really lets this down is the design. This is really a case of a great concept, crashing because of the design, because I mean, I can tell you what's wrong with the design. Like, this is a massive white box. Now, I think that might be an attempt to use the shape of Colorado, the state, but Colorado is a square. Is just a square. It's probably the worst, the worst state you could ever have to illustrate. And filling it in with a white solid, background is just looks horrible. It doesn't work well for a shirt at all. So how can we improve this one? This this is crying out for like some illustration. This is crying out for a picture of the Colorado mountains with some lakes, some rivers, some trees, like a design that looks like a vintage postcard or something. Colorado, visit Colorado. Greetings from Colorado. But all you do is you put Colorado and then you say enter a higher state, and you find some way to get some little weed references in there, some little graphics or some smoke or whatever it might be. I think that would work 10 times better than this. So yeah, decent concept, decent hook, decent play on words, but there's no reference there to really what the joke is, and it's crying out for that kind of realization. A little bit like the mountains you might see here, but I'm thinking more of a kind of hand-drawn-y, sketchy, vintage attempt. Anyway, that's that one. Okay, this one, Explore, Dream, Discover. No Limits, Art of Adventure one. This is like an example of almost the opposite of the other one. This is nicely designed. This is a nice, clean graphic. Looks like it's been designed by someone who has certainly some competencies within Photoshop or whatever they're using. They've used some nice fonts. They've kept the colors fairly limited. What I'm failing to really grasp with this one is a clear concept and a clear joke or a hook. It's basically a pretty generic, adventure shirt without a real joke or hook, for lack of for keep saying the same thing, but hook sound like the film Hook. Explore, Dream, Discover, No Limits, Art of Adventure. It looks like a design you might see on like if you go into just a generic clothing store and you just flicking through t-shirts on the rack, you might see something like this, or in the kids section or something. So graphically, yes, but concept-wise, unless I'm missing something, there's not a lot there. Big Lebowski rug. So someone sent over this. This is, I guess, the rug from the Big Lebowski movie. There's a few, and they've done it as like a bath mat and stuff. So that's a pretty decent like concept. Taking the rug from the Big Lebowski. If you're not familiar with the movie, then you'll have to go and watch it. But obviously, people who are fans of the Big Lebowski will get the joke and might like to have a mini version of the Big Lebowski rug as a bath mat or something. So that's cool. What they wouldn't want is to have the Big Lebowski rug written on top of that mat. They'd like to know that that's the thing. Like, there's similar examples of this, like some of the patterns from The Shining, like the carpet in the Shining movie. That's kind of a thing that people like. And there's examples here in, like, this is Manchester, where I live, Manchester United, lots of vintage Manchester United football tops from years back. The patterns that were on those, people make little hats out of them and stuff, and people like patterns and things. So it's kind of that idea, but you don't want to put the text over it in massive writing, because that looks horrible. And also, obviously, yes, it might work as a rug or a bath mat, but it's not going to work as a t-shirt. Certainly not as is. The pattern might work as a t-shirt. Of course, there is a big problem with this one. It's referencing The Big Lebowski, which is a movie which you didn't create, so you don't own the IP, so you're in dangerous territory. But I just wanted to highlight that because it is a funny idea. It could also work as a mouse mat. That could be good as well. Dia de los Grapplers. This is I think something to do with a particular martial art. Can't remember which one it was, but something where they're called grapplers and they do moves based on certain animals, like a snake move and a gorilla move, I guess that is, or a saber-toothed tiger. So they've taken that and then done it in a kind of Day of the Dead style illustration. I think that's fine as it is, but I don't know whether those things overlap naturally and you're going to find much traction. But if I can leave that to one side, I think design wise, I would say, I would look up Day of the Dead shirt on Amazon or Redbubble and see what's kind of the best selling designs. I think you probably find quite a bit of color going on in some of the designs. This is obviously black and white. So I would want to see some more color in there. Layout wise, it's very horizontal. It's wider than it is tall, and that's not very visually pleasing on a shirt usually. I think you might have better luck just taking one of these illustrations and doing it very big, and making a design around that, like whatever it is, the snake move in the particular whatever it is martial art that you're referencing, doing some design around that rather than trying to do a collection of these, because you're making them smaller, you're not allowing the detail to really shine through. So yeah, those would be my thoughts on that one. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left. What about I smash through these designs and then I'll take questions for like the last 5 minutes? How's that sound? Okay, these first three designs all came from the same person, and the reason I wanted to highlight them is that none of these designs are especially like strong or great, but the fact that they came all from the same person gives me a little bit of hope, I think, in that these are three kind of quite different styles, but so that shows a versatility in the artist. I think they've been drawn by someone. We're not looking at clip art here or anything. We're looking at an artist who's sat down and drawn these things. And that being the case, if I'm correct, if that is the case, shows quite a bit of versatility, like the ability to draw this in this style and then draw this in this style. I like this one less, but there is still a style and it's quite different. That's a good skill. Like, I think the ability to be able to identify a certain graphic style and then create a design in that style is a very useful skill when it comes to prints on demand, when it comes to designing for t-shirts and apparel, because you often have to understand, what style would be best for this concept. For example, an illustration of like a koi carp for koi carp fans is best rendered or might best be rendered in a kind of Japanese painty style artwork. So if you can do that, if you're able as an artist, as a designer, to illustrate in various different styles, not just one, then that gives you a leg up. So I just kind of pulled these out because I wanted to say to whoever it was who did these, keep going, because I think you've got some skill as an artist, and I think that can work. I think what's letting these down as concepts is that they are all pretty weak. There is no clear hook really behind them, but that's something you can learn and get better at. And I think the ability to illustrate in these styles, if there's one of these that I think could work particularly well, it's like this one here. It's more sketchy type of style. Reminds me of some of Toby Fonseca's designs and stuff. He's an artist I interviewed on my blog, so he could be someone to look at. But yeah, I would pursue this maybe kind of style. I think there's a certain market that really likes the more illustrated, detailed illustration for animals and stuff. So yeah, just thumbs up and keep doing what you're doing, and a bit of encouragement for whoever that is. This one here, so I can't remember the text that's supposed to go with this one. Be in the moment. It's be in the moment. So we've got a bee doing a yoga pose. Very nice. We don't have the text on it yet. I think that's still to be added. But yeah, this is a very clean, nice illustration. It's going to look pretty decent on a shirt. Personally, I would minimize the color usage. I think there's a few too many colors going on. You could probably strip some away. If it was my illustration, I'd probably do that. But yes, it's nice and it's cute. I think that how you render the text can really make or break a design like this. Like, often we see text around a graphic and it can be quite, very little connection between the two. If you can kind of interplay the text with the graphic and make sure obviously you're using similar colors, you're using a font that fits the niche and the market, so the kind of yoga market, I think it can be done. I'm not exactly sure how it would best be done. You may also want to consider maybe having some background elements or something to help tie everything together, whether that's like a yoga illustration generic wheel, if there's such a thing as a yoga wheel or something like that, just to kind of, really pad it out and make it a coherent package as a design. But yeah, that's decent. Save the Chubby Unicorn. Again, decent concept. A little bit weak on the execution. The illustration is very simple. The text is not really interplaying with the design very nicely. It's a little bit basic and amateurish, but an attempt was made and it can be improved. I think things like even just curving the text a little bit, choosing a font that's a bit more playful and a bit more suggestive, and something that's close to who you're going after. It looks like it's more of a female market that you're going after with pink. So let's use a font that's a bit more, girly and appropriate and that kind of thing. Or a more kind of rainbow approach that's going on. But decent concept, but execution could use some work. This one, we got a fire, I guess a campfire, and it says "Stay Wild." Again, it's not like the world's strongest concept, but it's cute. Like, the illustration's very cute and nice. It works on a shirt. Not a great fan of the font. Could probably go for something that's a bit more outdoorsy or something like that. That might work a little bit better. But yeah, like, I would play around with the illustration and maybe do something that, again, kind of thinking back to your market and thinking about, I'm targeting maybe outdoor fans, people who are into camping and stuff like that. It doesn't look like an outdoorsy design, if that makes sense. Like, if you go and search for like mountain climbing design or camping design, you'll probably see lots of kind of rustic style illustration and kind of outdoorsy style fonts, if that makes sense. And you haven't really tapped into that with that design. So there's maybe opportunity there. You have now crossed over into the 2020 zone. So again, very strong concept, very good. The 2020 zone, obviously play on the Twilight Zone. Design, again, is kind of where it's let down a bit. I would imagine a better way to maybe do this would be same text and everything, but do the 2020 zone as the main, in the center of the shirt. You could even do the kind of spirally illustration thing behind it, and maybe do like a few little things around it to even make little mini jokes. So you are entering the 2020 zone. COVID, murder hornets, election, doodle-doo, doodle-doo, and they're all spinning around the thing. You don't even have to label them. You can just do little illustrations of a murder hornet and a COVID bacteria and whatever it might be, fires and things like that. So yeah, hopefully that helps you with that one. And okay, put down the shoe. We can talk this out. So again, this is I think a funny concept and a decent germ of an idea, but the execution is leaving something to be desired. And again, it's kind of like the text is really dominating, and maybe, of course, with a wordy phrase like that, it's probably going to be quite, it's hard to make a very nice graphical design with so much text. But I think it can be done, and I would, what would really take that concept up to the next level would be that you draw the tarantula. Not an easy thing to do, but there are people who are very good illustrators. They could draw a tarantula. They could draw a characterized tarantula, cartoony tarantula, who is kind of looking a bit, sheepish and whatever. And you could tie the text together in a better way. Make the tarantula the focus. Make the text go around the tarantula. Make it serve the main focus. But yeah, a nice concept. I just think it needs better execution. The last two. Welcome to Acid House. So this is a design that's playing on the Acid House smiley face, and then it's kind of put it in a gothic metally, Grim Reaper design instead. Obviously, it's very detailed, very nice graphic. I do think it would be something that would probably appeal to that market. It's a good kind of hook, because you've got Acid House, which is usually, bright colors and stuff like that, but you've placed it in a different context, in a kind of metal approach. So yeah, there's not too much I can really advise about that. I would say that I didn't at first glance recognize the text. I'm not even sure the text is that necessary. But if you do want to kind of make a play with the text, I would consider making it clearer. You could maybe make the text yellow to make it stand out a bit more, or even go down a more metally route and make the text the proper metal, like death metal, super hard to read metal text. I don't know how else to, like black letter font type stuff. Could be an approach to go. But yeah, obviously this is a very nice design. You can see why this would be attractive. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it also has a decent hook behind it, well targeted to a market. So very good. This one, coding is my cardio. It's very simple. It's targeting a clear market, people who are coders. It does a joke which would appeal to them and which makes sense to them. I think if I could offer, some advice on this one, I would say there isn't a lot of emotion in the graphic and stuff. We've just got a little text monitor. This is something we say quite a lot, or I say quite a lot, is get some emotion and do a character. Make the monitor a character, or illustrate someone coding, or whatever it might be. There must be a way you can put something there that's got a face, eyeballs and a mouth or something like that. But yeah, I think this is a nice clean design. Like, I think if you had 100, 200 designs like this, you'd make a fair amount of money from print-on-demand sites monthly. If they were as well targeted as this is to a market, with, obviously they've got the right font choice. It's simple, it's straight and to the point. I think it could just be improved by getting a bit more emotion in there, like an exercising laptop or whatever it might be, something that just takes it up a notch. Okay, those are all the designs for today. So let's take some questions and comments before we wrap it up here. Drew said, are those all the same artist or various purchased arts? I think he's referring to these ones here. So well, that's a good point, Drew. I'm hoping that they are. I'm assuming that they are drawn by the artist and not purchased. If they have been purchased, then of course they don't really work. None of my critique was relevant. Renato says, thank you. I do have coloring plan for the Dia shirts. I like the thought of individual images. For the the Dia de los Grapplers. Okay, cool. Well, glad I could help you out there, Renato. Imam says, thank you, sir. No problem. Melinda, generally, how much of a 500 by 400 pixel canvas do you fill up with a full-size design? It depends on the design, Melinda. Like, look at this design here. This one, the Welcome to Acid House, that is much taller than it is wide. So in that case, I would have it max out the maximum of the canvas. Maybe sit off the top a little bit if you were worried about it being too high, but I would really maximize it in the canvas there. For coding is my cardio, I would have that up here in the kind of chest area. I don't know how well you can kind of see the chest area. And it would be up there. So yeah, if you're wider than it is tall or square, then you would want it higher up the chest. If it's taller than it is wide, then you would want it really filling the full height of the design. That's kind of a general rule of thumb. And Curious has a question about for Renato, I think. Okay, so any questions before we wrap it up here today? We got a couple of minutes if you want to get some in before we wrap it up. But I hope that was helpful. Covered a lot, or got through all 30 designs, not quite within an hour, but yeah, but we got somewhere. And if you want to get more help with your ideas, if you want to really better understand what makes for a good t-shirt concept, why they make for good t-shirt concepts, and you want some examples and references you can use, then my little book of t-shirt ideas, we have plenty in stock right now. You get all these bonuses, perfect pop culture shirt presentation that I did, the idea sorter Airtable base to help you sort through your ideas, a live session I did on idea generation and design critiques. And yeah, we have these in stock right now. If you want to pick one up, michaelessig.com/book. They will be shipped out by my very own mother in the next few days. Got special illustrations for different designs, whole load of stuff that you want to grab if you have not already. Okay, let's take some questions here as we wrap it up. Okay, quite a few questions. Are the t-shirts Madacod? Don't know what that means. Sorry. Renato, curious DM means... Okay, so he's answering that question. Lance, is uploading to Teespring worthwhile if you're not doing any marketing social media? No, in my experience, no. Maybe it was once upon a time, but not these days. Certainly not, unless you're able to drive some traffic there. The only thing you might want to do is if you have a design and you just want to make sure you get it up everywhere so that someone can't come and list it on Teespring and take your spot, then you might want to do it for that reason, but I don't think it's going to make you a lot of money organically with Teespring. Jamie, thanks for reviewing. Mine is the Acid House one, but I couldn't listen because I was in a Zoom meeting at the same time. We'll watch the replay. Okay, cool, Jamie. Thanks for sharing. It is a nice design, so good job. One Man Show, thanks a lot. Very useful session. No problem. Thank you, One Man Show. Richie, next time could you wear a tee with one of your top selling designs that illustrates what you're teaching us? What's up with the blank t-shirt? Richie, I cannot do that, I'm afraid, because I would be giving away all my hard-earned, hard-worked-out designs. But I will try and wear a graphic one next week, but I don't actually ever really wear my own designs. I look like I'm not, if you look at these designs here, like between these designs, this is basically what most of my designs look like. Something like not as detailed as this, not as simple as this, but, cute characters like this with a funny saying, that's my designs. Like you would not be impressed to see my designs at all. But of course, I do have reasons for not sharing them because people steal them. People especially steal them if they know that they are selling well. So I have a reason to protect my own designs. Angela, cheers from Scotland. No problem. Rethinking my design now. Cool. Thank you, Angela. Melinda, thank you. Sometimes the design appears so large once printed on a t-shirt. Yeah, they do. But again, it depends on the design. And obviously, if you are worried about it being too large, you can shrink it down a little bit. Code Whisperer, thanks, Michael. Always helpful. No problem. Kelly says thank you. David, I've been filling my Ulysses app with your formulas. Cool. Thank you, David. Yeah, I use Ulysses too. Cool. Chupi, thank you. You are appreciated. Thank you very much. L'argent, is it a good idea to vary a design once you're happy with it to accommodate different platforms and markets? So 10 t-shirts on 10 different platforms, all at different prices, for example. I think you might be overthinking it a bit, L'argent, but certainly if you have a design, I would not say a design you're happy with. My criteria would be, is this design selling? Has it sold? And once a design sells, that's like a big flashing light that should tell you this works, go and do more of it. So once you have a design that sells, it does make sense to go and create variations and different versions and come again to the same market with a different concept. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that, just doing stuff for the sake of it, just throwing loads of designs out there doesn't necessarily work very well and works less well. As time goes on, I think what really works is good market selection, fulfilling the need, and giving people what they want. Usually in a space in the competition where the competition is low, where you have a good opening there. Joseph, suggest you do not upgrade to beta on Teespring. Gray, I like the group critique like this. Helpful, no problem. Thank you, Gray. Drew, I go back and reread the book to keep my brain going. Really good. Thank you, Drew. Richie, next time can you wear? Oh, we've answered that one. Julie, fun session. Thanks, Michael. No problem, Julie. AAA, what do you think about the last Amazon Pop Grip update? Nothing really. Something about the changing the pop sockets to the latest pop socket. Cool. Never really sold that many pop sockets anyway, but yeah, that's good. Let Amazon do their thing, I say. We can focus on the art and the design, and they can do the whatever they have to do on the other side. Joseph, once you upgrade to beta, you cannot return to previous version of the storefront. Okay, useful information. Thank you. And Holloway, so for pure organic traffic, can you recommend any site more than Redbubble? Amazon, of course, would be the number one. I have a blog post on this on michaelessig.com. But yeah, it would be Merch by Amazon, Redbubble, then TeePublic. Redbubble would be the second one. I think what a lot of people don't think of is Etsy, which is really an organic marketplace as well. It's probably the one that's really taken off for me this year. Redbubble and TeePublic are still going very strong, haven't really dipped at all, and they've kept the sales coming. But Etsy has been where things have really increased. So that would be a good organic traffic channel to consider if you aren't already. Obviously, you would need to use Printful or Printify to fulfill your orders. I have a good long blog post on that as well. Okay, David, just look at how much Dynamite gets ripped off. Yeah, Dynamite is very similar to my style. He's probably the closest. Like if you were to look at one guy, very similar type of designs to what I go after, silly puns, things like that. He does get ripped off an awful lot, and we all do, sadly, part and parcel of the market. Melinda, you need a Design Whisperer shirt. Yeah, that would be a good one. Design Whisperer, t-shirt Design Whisperer. Christmas is coming up. I may come up with a few little products for you guys to buy before the year is out. Angie, well done for getting through so many design reviews. Very helpful. Thank you, Angie. Lance says, funny how graphic designers usually wear solid colors. Just keep it simple. That's the key of graphic design. Perfection is not when you can't add anymore. It's when you can't take anything else away. So simple, flat colored designs, t-shirts. That's where it's at. Kelly, what are the top three best-selling t-shirt colors? Black, black, and black. And then navy is in fourth place. Curious, Lance Gambis lol, and Mary says hello from Nigeria. Hello to you, Mary. I'm afraid, Mary, that you've joined us just as I'm leaving, but you can, of course, watch this from the start to get your fix of T-shirt design review. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Do go check out the little book of T-shirt ideas if you haven't already. And, of course, if you want to get some free stuff, but you're not quite ready to buy the book, then michaelessick.com/live is the place to go. You will get access to some free goodies there, and you will get emails from me with exclusive tips and stuff that I don't share anywhere else. Dan says, another great session. Thank you. Marie V says, thanks for your insights. Maybe next time I'll submit a design. Cool. And Dan says, adios. Adios to you too, Dan. And I will see you all next week. Probably do one same time, but keep an eye on your inbox for the latest information. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, great weekend, and I'll talk to you all soon. All right, I'll leave it there. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.